A very good morning to you. Welcome along to Tuesday morning's OTB AM. We're here with you all the way until 9:30. A very busy show for you this morning. We're going to cover loads of bits and pieces, look back at last night's football, look forward to tonight's football and start the build-up to the weekend's Six Nations. Darren is here with us this morning. How are you?
Good morning, Ger. Very well.
We were marvelling over how good Paul Pogba is at football. Who knew? If only he'd ever shown any signs of being this good at football, then maybe Jose Mourinho would have picked him in his right position and not actually... Remember he dropped him. Remember he left him out of his team for a while.
Spectacularly dropped him. Like, wasn't including him, stripped him of the club vice captaincy, called him a virus at a team meeting and basically said that you are holding Manchester United back. It's hard to believe that it's the same player that Mourinho seemed desperate to offload in January.
I mean, if he was playing like this, it would have been different for Mourinho. But maybe Mourinho could have got him to play like this, and that's the manager's job.
It's the cult of manager and personality, though. I almost believed Mourinho when he said Pogba is the problem. I cannot get the best out of Pogba because he is too difficult to manage. His ego is too great and he does not believe in the bigger cause. Yesterday it looked like he had complete belief in whatever the bigger cause is. He was able to function effectively in the marvellous skill he has as an individual. I mean, the cross for the first goal is absolutely incredible, and just even the little check back where just that moment of thought and presence to do that. But the fact that he was able to function not just as it's all about Paul Pogba, he was able to play in a way which made Manchester United better and made them tick. He is the kind of player that, and now looks why they broke the world record. It's now starting to make sense, because for a while it looked like he would never get to that level. For a while it looked like he would have the Dupay exit or the Di Maria exit. It looked like it was going to be one of these marquee signings that don't really work out and you quietly shuttle them out the door.
Yeah, or you try and get your money back from Paris Saint-Germain. Now they would get their money back. You feel like he's playing well enough that anybody, if they did want to move on from him, they could, and it wouldn't be a massive loss. Or he looks like the type of player that you could build a team around, or certainly put an N'Golo Kante beside, or somebody to to make him effective in every moment of the game.
Yeah, it was just one of those nights, wasn't it, where everything worked out for them as well. They even had a bit of luck with the double save from Romero from the free kick to David Luiz. He stops that and then he gets the follow-up. So without playing particularly wonderful at times, like there were times where you thought Chelsea could have got back into the game, or even when it was 0-0 they could have gone ahead. They managed to keep their noses in front, a bit like the Tottenham game where Spurs were the much better side for a lot of it, but United were still able to control the periods they needed to control. And tactically I just thought they play a really nice brand of counter-attacking football, and it's not by accident anymore. Some goals under Mourinho, it looked like it was
a fluke.
Yeah. Well,
the ones against City last year, remember, was it City that came back from 2-0 down?
Yeah, and he pretends to be a football genius by the end of it, but it looks like they have a plan, and it looks like all of the players actually, they have faith in it. They trust the manager, and the manager trusts them, which was something that's been absent at United for months. Yeah,
OK, let's take you through the newspaper headlines this morning. It's a busy enough day. Sorry, this is what's coming up in the show. That's a good idea, isn't it? So Seamus Darby and Jackie Tyrrell were in studio talking with Owen, from Kerry. Seamus Darby, obviously famous enough for stopping the 5 in a row. Jackie Tyrrell has his own 5 in a row story, or not quite, so obviously that will come up for a conversation around about 8:25 this morning. We'll talk about Chelsea and Manchester United with Daniel Harris to see exactly how excited he is by how things are progressing for Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's getting to that point now where it looks inevitable that he will be given an opportunity at least to take on the job. He's got some heavyweight support. Ryan Giggs in the papers yesterday saying that he thinks Solskjaer should get the job now. Liverpool against Bayern will preview that at 9:05, and Wexford hurling, Tim Ridling's going to join us a little bit later on. He was covering that game for TG Carr at the weekend in their come from behind victory against 14-man Tipperary. What does that actually mean for where Wexford are at the moment under Davy? A lot of talk that year 3 of the Davy experiment is the year it goes pear-shaped, which is to kind of parallel the whole Mourinho thing, and I think that, I don't know about that.
Third season syndrome, is it a real thing?
Yeah, well, it's certainly, I mean, you can't now look at retrospectively at what Mourinho's done and say it isn't from his perspective, but is it, I think, for Davy? I mean, certainly the Wexford players were pretty enthusiastic about him coming back, so. Yeah,
they drove to his house and convinced him to stay on when he was having doubts about it, so I don't think that it's a case of them getting tired of his voice, or it certainly wasn't at the end of the season by the looks of things, but I mean, well, the results and the performances maybe haven't what they've hoped for. I wouldn't. It doesn't look like a guy who is lost it all or isn't incapable of turning it around. I don't think his voice has got to a point where it's still not able to get a performance out of it.
No, and also you've got to remember where they've come from. So, like, they've come from a situation where things look pretty bleak for Wexford hurling, to a point where, okay, so it's 2 seasons ago now, but Davy got into the Leinster final and 60,000 people showed up, and now they believe that they're a proper Division 1 hurling team who are there on merit, and players seem to want to play for the county in a way that there was a 10-year period there where players were walking away, good players who wouldn't commit for whatever reason. So
are the expectations just too unrealistic then?
And they're also making a fortune in America, isn't that? And let's face it, isn't that what every county board needs? So yeah, the reason the lads are coming in a little bit later on is they're both in the new series of Laker Gale. So we'll talk a bit about that in a couple of minutes' time. But first, I'm going to take you through the newspapers. So there you go. Sorry on the brink is the back page headline on the Times Ireland edition after the 2-0 defeat at home last night. Generally, you get the impression that the cup doesn't matter when it comes to sacking of managers, but perhaps being beaten at home by Manchester United is the type of thing that might eventually poke the big Russian bear that is Roman Abramovich.
I mean, managers have been more successful and sacked for less at Chelsea. It's hard to see a way back because, for all intents and purposes, it's very clear that he's lost the dressing room. Usually you'd have some kind of sympathy for Chelsea managers when this happens because there's an air of an inevitability about it. But the fact that this Sarri ball and his whole game plan seems to be centred around playing your most talented players out of position and persisting with playing your most talented players in a position that they're not used to, you wouldn't have a whole lot of sympathy for him when it does fall the axe eventually.
Yeah. I mean, I have a little bit of sympathy that he was trying new stuff, and you try new stuff in the Premier League and you get hammered. But at the same time, it doesn't seem to make that much sense, the new stuff that he's trying. And then also he throws all his players under the bus. Yeah,
that doesn't help. I mean, if the players are for it, if they're on your side and they're willing to try it, but all of the murmurs and all of the noise out of Chelsea is that the players don't like this, they're uncomfortable. You saw Kante even yesterday give the ball away once or twice in possession, real uncharacteristic things where he was just sloppy and he looked out of sorts. I think a lot of his poor form is down to the fact that he's not comfortable playing the position he's in. Yeah. He's not getting the best of the players he has.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the next new manager at Chelsea comes in and does and is able to achieve. The other back page story on the Times Ireland edition is that Henshaw is set to be ready for the Italy clash. Obviously, Chris Farrell is injured and is coming back from injury. Gary Ringrose, it says, is still also recovering from injury, although his was seemed like a fairly minor hamstring and it sounded like he was going to be back for this, but there's really no point in rushing anybody back. So it looks like Robbie Henshaw will be fine, and Tyke Byrne is back in the squad, but while it looked like Ian Henderson was coming back, he now faces a sighting and so may not be available. So back page of the Irish Independent this morning is Pogba planing in, having scored the second goal last night for Manchester United, and Henderson sighting gives Schmidt fresh headache for Italian clash. I mean, it's a bit of a headache, but it's nowhere near as bad a headache as it would have been if this had been for a big game.
Well, the first rounds of the Six Nations, to be without both of them was probably, I would say, the bigger headache. It is a bit of a pain when he just gets back fit, shakes that issue, having missed the opening 2 rounds, and he's not available. I think in terms of getting rid of the old ring rust, Schmidt probably would have chanced him this week. But the fact is, I don't think Italy can put out a team, or Ireland can put out a team capable of losing to Italy. So I don't think that's any kind of setback or a blow.
And if Tyke Byrne's fit, you want to see him in the team, right?
Absolutely. I think he has... he has more to offer in terms of showing Joe what he can do and showing Ireland what he can do. I think we know what to expect with Ian Henderson. I don't think Ian Henderson is a guy that has too much to prove to anyone, especially in a game against Italy.
Rhys Ruddock is out. Dan Levy obviously is still out. Rory O'Connor is saying, though, that there is a chance Chris Farrell could be available, despite the fact that he came off injured at the weekend. So fingers crossed that is the case and that he actually might be able to keep his place. Men United, Solskjaer's Reds deliver perfect team performance to snuff out Chelsea. And then Mike Quirk is pictured above the masthead with a brilliant column today. Bluffers and snake oil salesmen are a dime a dozen in modern GAA. He's got, I'm just going to read, he reads a tweet, he includes a tweet that he saw recently. Over the weekend I read a tweet that had me shaking my head in disbelief. Senior football team, training since mid-Jan, haven't touched the ball yet, have done laps, 400 metres and 200 metre runs. Played challenge recently, beaten well. Cue more running, they weren't fit. Football is expected to make a return sometime in late Feb. Players deserve better than this. He's talking about how periodisation for team sports has largely proved to be ineffective as opposed to intensity style training, and he quotes from Fergus Connolly's book Game Changer. But I don't know, it's just a brilliant column from Mike Quirk talking about how coaching is the be-all and end-all when it comes to GAA, and there's 11 million being spent, and that people need, and clubs need to give coaches the opportunity to perpetually learn, because it ain't no fun running laps and getting beaten.
That's just mental torture. Like, I cannot understand what you'd possibly hope to glean from that. Is it a case of just flogging your players to a point? You will weed out the ones who don't want to do it. You will get a gauge on their real commitment to the cause by just putting them through unfair and unrealistic scenarios, just making them run to death. It's absolutely pointless.
It's BS. And finally for me, the Telegraph says exclusive at the top there, you might not be able to read it, Gatland, the front runner to replace Jones after World Cup. So they think Warren Gatland. Is this black ops from the Daily Telegraph trying to unsettle the Welsh in the week of an England-Wales game? Is that all this story is? Is it somebody from the RFU using their favourite organ, newspaper organ, the Telegraph? Is that all this is?
I don't know. I don't think you can unsettle them with anything around Gatland, because his future is relatively clear in that it's finite. We know what's happening. We know he's moving on. So I don't think even the link, whether it might be tenuous or it might be legit, will be enough to change anything. I mean, we saw the absolute chaos though that it caused with Spain at the World Cup when Lopetegui was found out that he was not he's going to be the Real Madrid manager after the World Cup. That seemed to upset a couple of players, so maybe there is something in it. I'm not so sure though.
It's England that he's going to.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's the week of the game that this is leaking out. Who's leaking that? Who does this story benefit?
Well, it benefits England, obviously. It benefits England by trying to unsettle the Welsh.
If he's not going there, like only if he's not going there. I don't know. Okay.
I think it's a shot in the dark.
Okay, look, I'm going to play you this clip. The new series of Lake Regale kicks off tomorrow night with the first of 6 hour-long specials on TG Carr. Starts with Jackie Tyrrell at 9:30. As we mentioned earlier, we've got a brilliant feature interview with Jackie and Seamus Darby coming up later on this morning. Here's a snippet of what's to come. It's Seamus Darby recounting the story of an undercover trip to Kerry in the summer of 1981 for a bit of spying.
I was down on holidays in Kerry and I went to see them train in 1981, yeah, that's true. I was down hanging around and I was with my wife at the time, and we went in to see them train in Tralee. But no one knew me, or there was no big deal about it.
If only they knew then.
Well, only any of us knew then, I suppose. But,
did you pick up anything from the train, and did you see anything? Or?
Yeah, I just saw a couple of things, Jack.
Yeah. Did you see where the keeper stood in the corner that was open?
No, it's just interesting to see them train, and that's all. I never expected to be back playing with Offaly in my wildest dreams, really, at that stage, you know. But I get on very well with most of the Kerry lads, as it happens. Now, I'm not saying I'm as popular as you said, but I get on very well with them, really, you know, and that's grand as well. I meet them here and there, and they're all nice lads, you know.
And what about yourselves and Tip?
Yeah, sure. I suppose it's the classic Kilkenny Tip rivalry. It's intense. It's you know, we wouldn't be mad about each other, but then only at the Amanda Stapleton charity game that we played recently, we all, you know, as soon as any Kilkenny lads were asked, you know, a great cause like that, jumped at it. We went up. They looked after us unbelievably well afterwards. We're on the marquee, bit of grub, right few pints, right bit of crack and good bit of slagging. And they had, like, there was players there as new as current tip players like Dan McCormick, and then you had Michael Webster, who we would have played with down through the years. And I think at the end of it, like, when you see things like that, it humbles you and it brings you back to it's a game, and there's more to life than it. I mean, particularly when you come out of the intense bubble of inter-county hurling or football.
Yeah, great stuff there from the lads, and more of that to come in a little bit. So we're going to bring you through the rest of the tabloid newspapers headlines this morning. United in blue heaven. Pogba, he trusts us and we trust Ole. And look, the digs at this stage are not necessarily directed anymore to Jose Mourinho, but if you can kick Mourinho while he's down, why not? Red arrows flying. United turn up the heat on Sarri. It looks like the end is coming for Maurizio Sarri and Sarri ball. Fitzpatrick, Ireland have depth to rule the world. This is interesting. Sean Fitzpatrick is saying that Ireland are the only team in the world who the All Blacks fear. Similar stuff coming from Brian Habana in today's newspapers. So they obviously haven't been watching England, or else they're trying to provoke a response from the English rugby team. Firmino adds to club concern. So Bobby Firmino has apparently a virus at the moment, and Virgil van Dijk is suspended. Dejan Lovren is struggling with a hamstring injury and is also likely to miss out. So it's not quite dealing with a full deck tonight for Liverpool against Bayern tonight at 8 o'clock. Leeds have been fined 200 grand for spying easy sliders Pogba hails beautiful win as Sarri's time looks up is the back page headline on the Star this morning, and the Mirror, surrender. Chelsea boss on the brink as superb United march into the quarterfinals. And Hendo, we can handle the pressure, is Jordan Henderson looking, like he can't handle the pressure in the picture, and that's just a training picture. So we'll see if he's telling the truth.